G'day team, welcome back to another video. We're back into the pro analysis with a little bit of a lull before a lot of the scenes around the world kick off for 2023. I thought it was a great opportunity to go back and check out Game Changers when it was on. I didn't get the chance to watch it. It was late at night, had a lot of things going on in the real world. So I've been really loving going back and looking at these matches. The first match that we're going to look at today is Cloud9 White versus G2. There was a lot of content made about this map in particular when it came out. G2 bringing out the Yoru pick and absolutely dominated Cloud9 with it. In the grand finals, they actually lost on Pearl with the same comp to Shopify. And I was curious to see whether Shopify managed to anti-strat or have really good reads against them. And what I think it actually came down to was an unoptimization of this strategy, of this comp by G2. Lots of smaller errors that could have had big impact, and they didn't get punished for it in this game, but against Shopify, they absolutely did. So let's take a look at some of those errors and see what they could have cleaned up and potentially how they could have won the map against Shopify, which is the next video that'll be on my channel as well. Think of this as a precursor to my series on the grand final match of Game Changers. All right, so let's start with round one. What better place to start than with the first cool idea that G2 have in this match? You can see the gate crash has been sent off by Giuliano. That's going to be a lineup that gets her all the way down into U-Haul on B site. And whilst the rest of G2 get ready for this A hit, C9 have got themselves towards mid, and they're going to have to play a full retake here. As soon as they get onto site, this plant is going down from Mimi. Giuliano pops the TP with that rotate just having kicked off. Really, really nice timing. They would have discussed what kind of timing they wanted on that, and they get it exactly right. And so now Giuliano is going to have this really nice lurk up behind Mel into spawn. And this is where my first issue comes up. It's nothing to do with the actual teleport, but more so the sort of lack of layering here from G2 in optimizing this idea. We have this Sage Wall here, and we have a Prowler that's gone into Secret and Chamber following through into Secret as well after Dugout and Secret was cleared by the Prowler. So this plant spot, if we're playing deep into site, like Chamber's going into Secret, we've got this Yoru coming around, is really hard to defend from this defender's spawn position. What I would have loved to have seen from G2 here was a different plant positioning, one that's more open to being spammed from Secret or from Flowers. Now, Flowers is a little bit more risky. They've decided to push in and clear Secret and take that space. So I would come sort of just over here. You'll be crouching and planning, so you'd still be protected by the wall. It's pistol round as well, so getting through this wall and spamming through it and taking down the planter is going to be really, really unlikely. And so you've created an opportunity for yourself to get a really nice open plant, which is going to make it so much harder for C9 to come through and deal with. The round goes on with that Prowler. Petra goes and joins Mary into Secret, and they play 2 out here. And then glance all the way back up in A main, not in any kind of tradable position. We still have the chamber trip as well. Remember, this is pre the 5.12 patch, so this is a global chamber trip. And so glance really needs to be down here, being in a tradable position. So glance really needs to be fighting here with Mimi, or Mimi needs to like fall back to here in this kind of position if you want to play this post plant, but they're just not playing together. Just a small thing to note as well. And so they fight here to try and create this trap and stall out the C9 push. Really nice kill there from Mel, creating space from Jazzykins as well. So now we're in really awkward positioning for G2. We have Mimi here holding this smoke, and she's about to have to fight 2 by herself because Glance has been smoked off. And Petra's now come into Flowers, so she's going to try and regroup with Giuliano here. And so there goes the Sage. So this is very pedantic because it's probably impossible to do on the fly with the team coordination and the positioning and the timing in the round. So without having a discussion about it beforehand, it's kind of impossible. So this is the situation. This is what the map looks like. C9 is going to try and stick this diffuse behind this Sage Wall that Mimi puts up. Now this Sage Wall is an interesting idea. The problem is we end up in a really segregated fight. So Glance comes out and takes out Bob. So this Sage Wall is a novel idea. Get the Sage Wall up to protect Alexis, who's diffusing, and then fight and stall, and hopefully Alexis can get the diffuse off. The problem is the way that these fights are so segregated now. So G2 come out swinging. Mimi gets caught, gets taken out by Giuliano. Glance kills Bob as well. Jazzykins trades out Giuliano, but then Petra trades out Jazzykins. And so now Alexis has nowhere to go and is in a 1v2 situation. What I would have loved to have seen is, and this is kind of bonkers, so just hold with me for a second. Firstly, you need Jazzikins to come into this area of sight. You just give up the back sight. So from C9's perspective, they have main control. They know that Giuliano's here and Petra's likely here as well because they have this part of sight. They don't have main control. So their two main threats here are Flowers and main. And so what you want to do is you want to isolate those threats. So what I would have loved to actually wall in Alexis and then take this fight as a 3 here. Glance can swing out into 3, and then Giuliano and Petra have to win, let's say, a 2v2 if Glance is able to get one and get traded out. And then they have to break the wall. All the while, Alexis is just sticking this defuse. I don't think they would have had time to do it. I think that would have been a really, really cool idea. And we've just watched the way this round plays out. You can see that chaos sort of ensues. G2 is able to capitalize on the isolated fights.
From the start, you could see that the entire game...
That's a crazy shot from Giuliano as well to hit on Mimi, which really breaks open the round.
Such clever plays coming through.
And you can see the hard spot that Alexis finds herself in. So, on to the next round. We're going to get straight into round 2. And what I want to look at here is the way that G2 just play this anti-eco round, the way that they play in their round 2 buy-up. Of course, they get Giuliano over to the other side of B long, which creates this really nice peak that Mel is not expecting. They flash into sight, and they're going to start scaling up behind that. The Yoru's created a bunch of space here. You can see the value that the Yoru pick is providing in this round. But then Petra, with the Vandal, decides to walk into U-Haul. And again, this is something that she doesn't get punished for. But if C9 just managed to get a 1-tap with one of their sheriffs, or they group up into this fight like they're trying to do, if they're a little bit more coordinated, they'd probably trade that out. And then they would have a Vandal to take into this retake, or maybe at least save into the next round. Petra gets a 4K, but that's a really risky position to play when you're against an eco. Just to finish that off, you can see Mimi recognizes this and comes to group up with her as well. But the fact that they're playing so forward together is a little bit better, but without the rest of the team there, still more risk than I would be wanting to take. All right, so now we have ourselves in round 5, and we have another cool Yoru idea, adding layers to the original idea from the pistol round with that teleport that's going to end up in U-Haul. And you can see they're setting up for a huge fake here. So they have so Giuliano pops ult, and we have Petra here who also has her ultimate ready and available. And the rest of G2 is over towards the B site, really playing quietly and ready to capitalize on the space that Giuliano's about to create. And this is a great play. The way that it runs out is fine, but there is an opportunity to further capitalize on this. And so what happens is, you can see there's the 2 players here in main that Petra has to clear out, because the plan is that Petra's going to come through an alt A site. And so Giuliano just gets through, gets into deep sight, and she should be comming here. They need to be comming that. Bob and Alexis, they're falling off. They're getting away. They're backing up. They're just trying to play safe. Second Prowler might not have been necessary if Giuliano was able to communicate things a little bit better. In the heat of the moment, that's a really tricky thing, but it's a really good skill to have. It even gets smoked off, and you see Giuliano's just popped out of her ult, and the Fade ult hasn't come down yet. It comes down now, and Giuliano TPs away, and they get onto the B site for free. So if Giuliano just was a little bit more patient here, you can see she's still got a few seconds here left in her ult. We have 2 people front side that she's going to be able to swing through. Katsumi's here as well. And if this Nightfall comes through, they're not going to hear the cue of when Giuliano pops out. She's going to be able to swing something and then TP away, potentially getting them an extra 1 or 2 kills. And the risk reward of that is super in your favor, because you've already created all this space toward A. The plan is already in motion in towards getting to B. And the risk of them turning around with that fade pressure coming through from main, they don't know that it's a fake. They've got to watch the main entrance as people swing out with this fade ultimate. And so you're going to be in backside with crosshairs not looking at you, being able to swing and then teleport away. It's just this util timing synergy that needed to be sharpened up, and Giuliano's patience or lack of gets the better of her in future rounds and in the Shopify game as well. But you can see when it works, how good it is. So coming into the next round, we're looking at round 8. And so Mel's got the tour de force here on chamber. C9's on an eco, so Mel's really the win condition here. I would have loved to have seen her repeat this. Knowing that C9 is on the eco, just take this fight with the tour de force. Instead, she decides to play a little bit safer, and she gets herself all the way into secret. And so just jump forward a few seconds to see this gate crash lineup being sent off by Giuliano. And this time she waits completely for the Fade ultimate to hit. She TPs in and Mel has no idea, hits before the rotates come through and gets herself back to site. That's the moment that I wanted to highlight in this round, is that if you just wait for that util timing, then all of these pick opportunities start to present themselves a lot more easily. Alrighty, so coming into round 11 here, at the end of the round, we can see that G2's finally created some space on A for themselves, and they're going to come through and get the plant down. So Petra clears out dugout and a bit of secret with that prowler. Mimi's able to come through and get that sage wall down. And then she again decides to plant in this really safe default spot. They have all of art right now. Giuliano's pushed up through art to create that space. So there's another opportunity to come out and do a more open plant again, but they don't take that opportunity. And as you can see, it creates a bit of chaos as well, because the same idea again, Giuliano is now going for this flank. And even if this flank for Giuliano is successful, it's still going to be really hard for her to actually be able to defend this spike if she gets left in a 1vx or 1v1 situation with no one being able to spam this down. And this next moment is really, really nice. I don't know if this is a trap set up by C9, but Giuliano would have just heard Mel running across this way. And so in a second, Bob goes, I'm just going to check water. And again, Giuliano's impatience here. She just needs to hold off until they actually come onto site so that she can get this really nice timing, wait for the fights to start happening. But they're not even onto site yet. Smoke's only just gone down. The sage wall is still up. So they've got a lot of space and time to work with. She decides to just W key a little bit, and Bob reads her like a book. That allows C9 to get into the site. They have the Astra wall and it creates a bit of chaos, but G2 play this really well. They just get themselves in, they win the fights and the trades, and Katsumi with the res can't do enough, gets herself down to a 1v1, but Glance with the health in hand is able to win that final trade. Another round that ended up being really close, but if Giuliano had that patience from this lurk, that would have just absolutely decimated Cloud9 as they pushed into site. Just another small thing that they needed to optimize. So there you have it, a little bit more patience and synergy in their timings, a little bit more development and layering of their ideas. And this comp could really develop into something really scary. They lost against Shopify Rebellion in the grand final, and it's something that I definitely think they could have won if they had a bit more time to develop and synergize this comp. But that's it for me today, guys. Looking forward to starting the Game Changers Grand Final series tomorrow. So make sure you've subscribed. Leave a comment below with any queries, theories, questions, or suggestions that you may have. And I will see you guys tomorrow. Have a good one.